All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the In Demand Hairstylist podcast. I am so excited about our guest today. We have Miss Brigette Sobus, and Brigette and I met, oh my gosh, maybe back in 2018, I think. It's about right. Um,
Maybe before that.
Maybe even before that. It might have been before that, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But Brigette was a coach for a consulting company that I later also became a coach for. And she was just always somebody that I really looked up to because I identified so much with her story and some of the struggles that she had in salon ownership. So Brigette today is a successful independent coach, consultant, and trainer, supporting others to create thriving businesses and careers while living a life that they love. So Brigette had a crash course in business when she took over a struggling salon in 2005 and transformed it into a top-ranking salon, increasing the revenue by over 30% annually for the first 3 years. And she achieved a spot in the prestigious ranks of Salon Today magazine's top 200 salons for best practices in North America from 2007 to 2020. So we're going to talk a little bit about that because that's very impressive. She's also supported business owners and leaders that were burnout, broke, almost bankrupt, and to grow their business from 30% to over 50%, creating profits and finally taking a paycheck again. Brigette is the creator and founder of the Power and Joy Academy and the Power and Joy Mentorship Program, and is committed to supporting others go from unhappy and unfulfilled to a rich and empowered life that they love with power, joy, and profits. Welcome to the show, Brigette.
I'm so excited to be here, Kristen. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's a joy to have you. And I'm really excited to just get into a little bit of your story because I feel like it's so much, like from the time that I met you to where you are now and everything you've gone through in between is just like we could be here for hours. But I want to dive into it a little bit. Why don't you share with people just a little bit first? Let's start at the beginning. Like, how did you get into the industry and how did you kind of take over that salon in 2005?
How I got into the industry was, I think I always had this interest in doing hair and makeup as a kid. Like I remember always like wanting to do my grandma's hair or like put makeup on her. And then I did start going to college after high school because I had zero idea what I wanted to do. And then one day I was kept floundering around and I was like, I think I want to go to cosmetology school. So I talked to my parents about it and then, yes, went to college, cosmetology school. So I became a college dropout. And then, and I fell in love with hair color first and foremost. So I was an assistant. So I could talk about so many different things. The value of an assistant program for owners and for service providers, because I probably went through 3 different apprenticeship programs. And then along the way became a master certified hair colorist. So that was my jam. I loved doing hair color.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day, the last salon I worked in, I found myself working in a smaller, privately owned hair salon. And before that, I worked for corporate, other types of businesses, other models. But I was working in this salon I started working there when it first opened and I was helping like grow it because I've literally built my clientele over again, like 4 different times, maybe 5.
Mm-hmm.
So build my clientele back up. I'm making 6 figures in this business behind the chair, but the salon was running pretty dysfunctionally at the time. Like paychecks were bouncing sometimes, other bills were lapsing. And I was thinking to myself, if this person can own a salon, there is no reason why I can't. I'm sure many of you have felt the same thing.
Yeah.
So now I have the opportunity presents itself to buy the salon. So I do. And now I quickly realize, guess who's becoming a dysfunctional mess? Me. I was a super hot mess and I was taking my 6-figure paycheck, putting it back into the business just to keep the doors open. I couldn't even hold a team meeting. Like I was crying if I started like talking to people. Like uncontrollably, like with emotions of like fear and whatever that was. And they would look at me like I had three heads, because a lot of them were my friends and now I'm their boss.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I became the hot dysfunctional mess, like pretty clear, like doing business behind the chair and being a business owner are completely two different things.
Yeah.
So luckily I hired a coaching and consulting company. Someone introduced me to a coaching and consulting company, and I hired them, and I started putting systems in place. Like I learned what a profit and loss statement was, and a budget, and job descriptions and handbooks and all the things. So I worked with my first coach for about a year and a half and put systems in place. And I started growing the business by 30-40%. I even won a sales mastery award with a consulting company that I hired. And I started getting I got my paycheck back, and I could lead team meetings without crying. It was pretty cool.
That's
And then I was so inspired by what it did for me personally, professionally. That was my first stepping stone onto what I do now. So doing coaching consulting work.
Yeah. There's so much that we could dive into with that. But I think for the sake of the audience and like where I think it will resonate most is just this idea of shifting from like stylist to then owner. So like what were some of the mindset shifts that like you weren't even maybe anticipating, or maybe just some of the mindset shifts that you had to make going from just being a stylist as an employee in a salon to then now owning this salon? And that was a unique situation because you like also took on a team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I probably started out with 6 people, and then grew. I had anywhere in between 12 to 24 and everything in between the almost 15 years I owned it. I think one of the biggest mindset shifts was like, first and foremost, to not take things personal, which can be very challenging, especially for us in the salon and spa industry, because we wear our hearts on our sleeves.
for sure.
Very emotional, emotionally driven industry.
Yeah.
So that was definitely something I worked on a lot. And I will tell you, systems and structures, putting that in place in the business, that was like my first, for me, was like my savior, because I could go back to like, you signed this agreement. This is your job description. You agreed to. This is the policies and procedures we have in the handbook. And you signed this. And then learning how to coach and mentor them along the way. So first and foremost, the mindset of knowing how systems and structures support you as an owner, that basic key turn foundation, that's imperative.
Yeah. Takes the emotion out of it, or at least it helps to take the emotion out of it.
It is a complete system to support taking the emotion. Even if you're an emotional person, those systems and structures will help you unhook yourself more powerfully.
Yeah.
Um,
So you obviously, I mean, it wasn't an easy road, right? Like implementing systems and structures. I mean, it rolls off of our tongue so easily, but I mean, I'm sure that was challenging for you putting these systems and structures into place.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. It wasn't this easy road. Like, I literally it took me about probably a year and a half to really transform the business. Cause what I would do is I would layer things in every single week, every single month. Like I think even when I first took the salon over, I didn't actually implement job descriptions and handbooks. I'm going to probably say like 8 months later.
Yeah.
So it was a build up to that. Like first and foremost, my coach and this is what I do when I work with other people. It's like, we want to start driving sales first.
Yeah.
Start driving sales and looking at, where's the budget? Where are we overspending? So the business is making money,
sure.
If it's not making money, we just have a really glorious job. We don't have a business. So it takes steps to get there, and then warming up your employees to all the things.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like I would teach them consultation systems. Like, hey, I'm going to teach you a consultation system. And like the consultation I did, I was using it. And personally for me, I took my average service ticket, and we're talking like what, 18 years ago, from $90 to $140 just by the consultation system that I learned. And then now I'm teaching my team.
Mhm.
And there were people on my team that were very resistant to doing it. And
Mhm.
I would be coaching them, working with them. I remember like sometimes I would have to leave the salon and like have I would call my coach because I
Yeah.
would be in my own breakdown. I'd be like, they're not listening to what I say. Like,
Mhm.
like they're just won't do it. They're resistant. And he would just like coach me off the ledge.
Mm.
Like, it's okay. Just go be with them. Get back in there. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. And then, so I just kept working with them. It was like, it would be like, I would have monthly meetings. We would talk about that. And then I would have one-on-ones. And then we would talk about it some more. And then I would coach them. I would have them role play and all the
Mhm.
things. So it definitely it wasn't something that was like overnight. It was like
Yeah,
consistency and being with, and you know, then, the tough love with the team, like
for sure.
consequences, which
Yeah.
then you could go back to and then be like the job description and the handbook and things like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like one thing I want people to hear that you said is it took, you know, a year and a half or longer to implement and really start having the structure that was solid. I think people think sometimes that this should happen overnight and that, if you put just, if you implement one or two things that it's going to be okay, but really building a solid foundation and structure, whether you're just starting out or as you did, like taking over another salon, or even if you've been in business. I was in business for I think 6 years before I hired my first coach. I had none of those things. I had no employee manual. I had no job description. So no matter where you're at, it's never too late to start implementing those things, but also know that it just doesn't happen overnight. It's like having clear goals, saying like month by month, like things that you're going to implement and warming up the team to it and implementing it yourself, embracing it yourself. So it definitely takes time. And it sounds like in your journey, like your coach, how important was it to have a coach during all of that?
Oh my gosh. I still have coaches.
Yeah.
uh Coaches, like therapists have therapists, coaches have coaches. Being an owner, it can feel really lonely at the top.
Mhm.
Like, even though you know that you have your team's best interests at heart, it sometimes feels like they're against you or you're against
Yeah.
them. Um, at times.
Right.
And having a coach and a mentor is just enough, like a person that is outside of you that's gonna really be there to support you because they're not in the weeds with you at all. But
Right.
it's someone you could go to, talk to, flush out the problems that you're having. A sounding board,
Yes.
someone that gets you, but then is not getting in the weeds with you or not getting on the court with you, that it's gonna help pull you out of that stuff so you can get out there and be your highest and best self. So I would probably say 100%, I believe, if I didn't hire a coach or consultant, my salon Soka, my salon was called Salon Soka. I sold it a couple years ago. It would not have existed. It probably would have tanked
Yeah.
after a year.
Yeah.
And I would have been one of those statistics and like how many businesses closed in the first year.
Yeah. Well, that just
Yeah,
goes
I would have
to
been of
show.
closing my doors. That's
Yeah.
what I believe what would have happened. I mean, you
Yeah.
never know, but I
Mhm.
can't imagine trying to run a business and not have the systems and structure that I had in place. I mean, I gratefully for me, even, throughout my journey, probably it was 7 years into owning the salon. I got everyone's free and clear of this because I believe in the power of words, but I was diagnosed with breast cancer for the first time. And because I put systems and structures in my business and had a manager and had educators and a team, um, I was able to take a 7-month leave of absence from the
Mm.
salon. so I could heal myself. So gratefully, I had that stuff in so that I could step away. So, you know, my recommendation, I know there's a lot of salon and spa owners that love to do services still. My recommendation is that if you still want to do hair or what services, just be setting up your business so that if something were to happen, you're able to take care of yourself. I think that's my biggest recommendation. Yes, you can still do all those things, but you
Yeah.
set your business up with systems and structures and a team of people. Gosh forbid something happens, you have it set up so that you can take care of you.
Yeah. And that actually, that just reminded me, that is exactly around the time that I met you at a hair show. You were teaching a class I sat in on, and it wasn't until the next year that I had like reached out finally. Like I got to the pain point where I just like was like, oh my God, I need help in my business. And I remember asking about you, and I was like, how's that blonde haired girl? Like I really like, how is she doing? She goes, you know what? Amazingly, like it's good that she did everything in her business, and she told me that you actually had breast cancer and you were able to step away from your business. And so that is powerful, God forbid. And you know I have talked about this, like you are healed of that. It's not part of your journey anymore, but it is something that in the event that something would happen, setting your business up so that you could actually take that time away is so powerful. And although your journey was not easy at all, what I love, and we'll shift gears here just a little bit, is that even with all of the stuff going on, you showing up, not being able to have team meetings because your voice was shaking, and going from like implementing piece by piece structure within your business, you were actually able then in 2007 to be one of the top 200 salons in Salon today, which is like, was always a goal of mine. And I always think it's so amazing when salons get that award and are recognized. So tell us about that. Like, what were some of the things that you did in your salon to make it one of the top 200 salons in the country?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the first time I applied for it, because back then, I think like pre-pandemic, and they even evolved it over the years. Like it used to be that they only accepted you if you had growth
Mhm.
in the business.
Mhm.
And my salon was growing. I mean, it was like 35, 40% at the time. So I, for the first few years, was getting into growth and then best practices. And then they shifted it to then like sections. So part growth, and I think there were like 12 categories or something.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I applied, and like I have waiting and waiting and waiting for this envelope to come in.
Mhm.
And finally it came, and I'm like, this is a really thin piece of paper. Did I get it or did I not get it? And then
Yeah.
I picked it open, and they're like, congratulations. So that was like back in the day when they sent you a letter in the mail, and then over time it evolved where they sent you an email
Mhm.
telling you that you got in. But it was really exciting for me. I was so proud that I got that award. And like every year it was the same thing. Like every year I would apply, and then every year I got the same nerves, like, am I gonna get in? Am I gonna get in? Am I gonna get in? Because it's true, like Stacy Sobel, I've talked to her before, like not everyone gets in to
Yeah.
that.
Mhm.
I actually know quite a few people that didn't make it this year that made it even like the prior year.
Mhm.
I don't know, but it was exciting. But I do have to laugh because sometimes my team, like, because I would take them for celebrations. We would do like another celebration party, like it's the Salon Today Top 200 celebration party. And
Yeah.
then for a while, I feel like they would just they almost took it for granted we were getting it every year.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like,
It's,
woohoo, yay.
like North America.
I mean, amazing. It really is. And it's like the top 200 salons out of how many salons are there? You know what I mean? Thousands and thousands and thousands of salons. So that's amazing. What would you say, if you could talk to your younger self or just a salon owner who is in the thick of it right now, building and growing their business, what advice would you give?
Well, first and foremost, you absolutely must have systems in place.
Mhm.
You have to have the systems, like, whatever that is, from job descriptions to handbooks to tracking systems for, what your team is doing, to the profit and loss, all those things. That is first and foremost, having a systemized business. Second is working on the mindset, working on your mindset. And that's like one of the things that I specialize in now, because if I could go back and talk to my younger self, there's skill sets that I know now that I actually train, certify other people in, that work with your conscious and your unconscious mind. So I do a lot of unconscious mind work, because if I could go back in time, I wish I knew these skill sets now, because I'm telling you, the people pleasing was a huge challenge for me. I was a very big people pleaser. I really had a hard time saying no to people, letting people down. It was weird at
How did that
times.
show up? How did that show up for you in your business? Like, what kind of things would you do?
I would probably say yes more than I wanted to when people would request time off.
Mhm.
Um, well, I can even, I mean, I'm an open book, but like I unfortunately went through a really nasty divorce in 2010, which then led me to being this is personal. Salon was doing amazing. This is a personal side.
Mhm.
I ended up being in $1.3 million of debt. Because my ex wasn't taking care of properties that we own, and I didn't realize it was going on until it was too late.
Mhm.
I'm managing the salon over here, and he's doing this over here. And yeah, so I decided to go through a divorce, and found myself in that much debt. And I was like, then people were like, you should file bankruptcy. And I was like, okay, but I'm at risk for losing this business that I worked so hard for. And I bit the bullet, decided to, and I had some people be like, just let the business go, Brigette. You're good. You just let it go. And I was like, no, I won't. I became super ego driven. And I was like, I will not lose my salon to bankruptcy. I'm losing it on my own terms.
Mhm.
And after they scrutinized my business, it was a very high ticket that they wanted to, like, my business was like, $1 million revenue business, right? So imagine what they're thinking, how much it costs. And I'm like, okay, yes, it says it's on paper, but if my whole team walks out the door, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's
this is
definitely
worth
not $1 million business.
the chairs are, what are the chairs worth?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I decided to buy it back for a pretty hefty amount of money. And that actually, that spun me into some survival mode.
Mm.
I would say 2019 was like the dark night of the soul year. I was like busting my butt, taking my coaching and consulting money, putting it back into the salon to keep up with payments,
Mm.
paying it to the trustee and all these things. And that really did kick me into people pleasing mode, because I started going into fear of people would leave me, and then where would I be if they left me, and I'd be with this hefty bill that I got to pay back. So it really became this weird vicious cycle. So if I had the mindset skills I have now, that would have completely served me during that time.
Mm.
But can't go back in time and change the past. I can just do what I do now. So
Yeah.
I
But I
think
love
mindset
that.
work is like first and foremost
Yeah.
after the systems. You got to have the systems too, but the mindset works helps you flourish with the systems that much quicker, that much faster.
Yeah, it's almost like they need to happen simultaneously. Like, like I
Mhm.
mean, yes,
Yeah.
systems and structures, but I think mindset is such a huge part of that too, because to be able to implement them and have the confidence to implement these things, and it does take mindset. And I just want to thank you for sharing, like, that, being vulnerable and sharing that part of your personal story, because here's the thing, like, as salon owners, even if you're not a salon owner or hairstylist, like, we're all walking this journey of life, and we all have shit that we walk through, whether that is, you're one of the strongest people I know, like, no, truly, like, mindset, like, resilience, like, you wouldn't even know that you've walked through half the stuff that you've walked through. And that's one thing I've just always admired about you, is just you you don't let life stop you, no matter what's in your way. And it really truly is inspiring. But life happens, and that doesn't change the fact that you have a business to run. And the fact that you were able to be going through like this shit show that was your life at the moment, and be powerfully showing up in your business, as hard and as much in survival mode as you were, you made it happen. And that is inspiring. I'm sure you've learned a lot from it. And you share about the mindset now. So let's shift to that a little bit and talk about like what you're doing now and what you're up to now, because now you've completely shifted. You have the Power and Joy Academy. Do you want to share with people like what that is and like what you do within the academy now, and how you help salon owners and beyond?
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah. So I made the decision to sell the salon right when the pandemic was actually like the stay-at-home order. Actually, I have to laugh because when I was mandated to close the salon, I was actually happy.
Same. That's what was like
I'm totally being truthful here.
yeah.
Like I was like, the government's telling me to close the salon. This is awesome.
Yeah.
That was me then. I mean, don't get me wrong. I coached a lot of salon owners through that process.
Yes.
But I did put it on the market. I put it on the market right before that. And I did sell it coming out of the market. So I sold it, and then I was thinking what was next for me. I'm like, what do I want to do next with my life? And I'm like, I want to just do small business coaching for, women entrepreneurs and those types of things. And then I was introduced to I had been a coach with the International Coaching Federation for about a decade. And one of my mentors, she would always say, I'm a master of NLP. And I had no idea what that meant. And but I always looked up to her, and I was like, I'm going to get this NLP certification. When NLP means neuro linguistic programming. And I still didn't even really knew what it meant going into this certification training that I found. And they were like, you're also going to get certified in timeline therapy and hypnosis. And I'm like, hypnosis sounds weird. And timeline therapy, I don't even know what that means. But I just trusted the process. My intuition was like, do this. And found out that now I'm learning a skill set that actually works with the unconscious mind. So throughout my career, I would always find myself, like I would have breakthroughs, don't get me wrong, but my mindset would always I would get re-triggered back into something. Like I'd be like, oh my gosh, I heard this breakthrough. I'm a more powerful leader than I ever thought I was. And then 2 weeks later, something would trigger me, and my mind would be on this hamster wheel of worrying, anxiety, negative thoughts. Like, I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. They're going to leave me. I can't make that happen. Whatever that is. I call that, if you have that, I call it the itty bitty shitty committee. Okay. So again, negative emotions would always be if I were now I can talk about my bankruptcy. It was just something that happened to me. But prior to this work, if I was talking about it and sharing it here with you, Kristen, you probably would see me get angry all over again. It would be I would be reliving the emotions, the negative ones, and it would be fuel to the fire. So I got these certifications, and I was like, oh, this is my calling in life. I'm like, am I not mad at that anymore? Am I not upset? Do I not believe that limiting belief anymore? So the power of this work with working with my unconscious mind, I was like, I need to teach as many people as I possibly can to learn these skill sets. So I did a deep dive. I got my master's certifications. Then I got my train the trainer certifications. I literally changed my life within 6 months. And I launched the Power and Joy Coaching Academy. And one of my passions is I would love salon and spa owners to get certified in this work so that they have more control and power over their own thoughts and behaviors, and then they can powerfully coach their team even more. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm at now. So I do I certify people to become NLP coaches, practitioners, timeline therapy, hypnosis, and I just launched an International Coach Federation certification program because I really believe every owner, um even if they don't, if even if you're not interested in becoming a coach per se, like full-time coach,
Yeah.
these skill sets help you so much in your leadership and your communication and your mindset. So you can even more powerfully move your business. I mean, I've worked with people that have all put the systems and structures in place for salons. And they were doing great, with the systems and structures. Then when they added the NLP tools and the timeline therapy, it was like they even catapulted their business even faster, grew their business by 50%, hired more team, all these like really awesome wins.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that's
it's like people
that's what I
don't
do now.
realize how limitless we really are. We truly are so limitless, and our minds are limitless. We're capable of so much more, but we do hit these roadblocks that just keep us stuck and stagnant and kind of on that hamster wheel, like you said. So, I mean, if somebody's hearing this like NLP, timeline therapy, like how can this really help me? I mean, you just mentioned it, like as a salon owner, there's obviously so much stuff you have to break through to be able to grow your business. So if you have any goal of growing your business to any significant amount, it's like new levels, new devils. You're always going to have to be working on that mindset because there's going to be things that come up that you have to handle. So the mindset there, but even if I could see this also even for hairstylists, because so many hairstylists get into this rut about not feeling worthy, not feeling like they can charge, being afraid to, enforce cancellation policies. Like, there's a lot of things around this. So, and that's all mindset. It's right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all mindset and being afraid and being triggered by certain things. People are going to get mad. They're not going to like me, like those kinds of things. So how do you see this
Yeah.
really, like coming into play with hairstylists and salon owners?
Yeah, I mean, I can even just give like an example, like real life example, like this stylist Mary, she's a solopreneur. She works for herself, and she had previously taken some of my more trainings to put systems in place and consultation systems that I would train, and she would have growth in her business. She took my first level certification program about a year and a half ago. And just because she went through that program, the very next month, and she worked 10 days less, she increased her revenue by 50%. She went from averaging $6,000 a month in sales to $9,000 the very next month. And now she's averaging over 10K.
Wow.
Working by herself, working less. And she got her dream job she had been wanting to be an educator for a hair smoothing company. And I feel like it was almost 10 years she was trying to go for this goal. And she was ready to give up on it. And after she got the certification program, like doors started opening up for her like crazy. She's now also an international educator and is like traveling the country, travel to Puerto Rico. She's going to go to Spain, like international educator,
That's amazing.
and has a balanced life, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool. Like she has a balanced life.
Yeah, which is what you coach to also, is like not only like, yes, having success in your business, but having success in your life. Like, what do you want out of life? And I love that
Yes.
you kind of have brought that element to your coaching that you do now. So, well, thank you so much for sharing your journey as a hairstylist and salon owner, some of the struggles in your personal life, and mostly thank you for sharing just like what you're up to now, because I think that this is so incredibly needed in our industry and it can be transformational for
Yes.
salon owners. So why
Yeah.
don't you let people know where the best place is to find you, where they can get in touch with you, and what you have going on if people want to learn more.
Yeah. So my website is and joycoachingacademy.com. I'm on Instagram as Coach Brigette Sobus. I'm on Facebook, personal, and then my professional page is Power and Joy Coaching Academy. And I'm on LinkedIn as well. I do have a free guide as well. I shared the link
Not
with
in the
you.
show notes. Yep.
Yeah. So I have a free guide that's the 3 biggest blocks to salon and spa's exponential growth. So that's my free gift. And then it gives lots of insight on working with the unconscious mind and like all the benefits of it for personally, and then like when you're leading a team. So
Amazing. Amazing.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that free gift. I will absolutely link that in the show notes so everybody can download that. And then of course your information where people can find you.
Yeah, I wouldn't mean anyone. If you want to have a complimentary session with me, all you need to do is reach out to me and we will get that scheduled, because I do complimentary power, joy, and breakthrough discovery calls.
Oh, amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brigette, for being here.
You're
It was such a
amazing. Thank you
pleasure.
for all that you do.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you.